You might have a back up on something you said from when
Essentially, on top of that, and I mentioned the line producer before, you want to make sure that whoever you're working with as a line producer, whether you're going from proposal treatment or from a script or screenplay, you need to make sure that they're utilizing best practices. It's something that unfortunately goes missing. Perfect example with TFH that Scott and I were talking about yesterday. Am I able to throw that number out in terms of what the original line producer? We could talk.
Sure, yeah.
The original line producer.
It's out there in the cloud. So
yeah, the original line producer we worked with
deny.
for TFH created a budget that was 1.7, 1.8 million, 1.875 million, something like that. And it's, I think Scott reacted was, no, what? It just seemed off. And then, you know, when we reworked the proper budget, now you're talking about under $300,000 for this proper.
I could have spent that money though. Don't get me wrong.
I can't see, I'm sorry, I didn't see Ron behind me. So yeah, you know, that is important. Just because, also because of that line producer contribution. Whoever you have working, sometimes you can get these guys to do these budgetary free or on spec because the intention is to work with you afterwards to manage this budget. You get 2 or 3 different line producers. Get an indie guy and get a guy that's a studio-based guy to see the difference. Because best practice is important.
Okay, well, I would just say for financing, coming from what we did at Game Nights and all the shorts and films that I've done so far, basically, I'm a no-budget filmmaker. I do have budgets. It's kind of a fallacy for a statement, but mostly I live in LA, and what I do is I just I mean, there's certain things you have to pay for, and there's other ways that you don't have to actually come up with money. So why? I mean, using your dollar for getting the most bang for your buck. If you have a girlfriend who I mean, networking. If you know somebody in a camera shop for rentals, you could get a deal if you talk to them. You can go online to like the local communities and just get. Aside from going to Kickstarter, go to the film schools nearby. These people are hungry, especially in LA. I have found no limit when it comes to finding actors who work for free. There's certain things, like for example, when it comes, your sentiment was correct for me as well. I'm film from everything, but lighting happens to be one of my weaker points. And I showed it to one of my friends who was a filmmaker as well, and he was like, "Oh my God, that film was just, oh my God." And then I swallowed my pride. Just okay, well, you know what? Please help me. You can't do everything yourself. But when it comes to money isn't the only solution. Don't think of it like what he said with the 1.75 million. I'm sure there were other ways you could sit down and cut what you could do. Can this person work for, giving points out to the people who you work with instead of giving them money?
Do you need a Panaflex camera versus a Steadicam?
Yeah.
Can you work off a DSLR? Do you need a $60,000 Panaflex?
Yeah, exactly. If it's out there, you don't need the highest technology. With technology the way it is, you can really keep your budgets low. And I'm totally for keeping your budget as low as possible for multiple reasons. One, if you get picked up, if somebody's interested in your series, they're going to see the financials. They're not just going to watch the creative. Especially if you want them to respect you in a sense, and you can keep your creative control. If you show that you're responsible for money when you're making art, it's not all about just throwing money at a problem. That should be, for me, that's the last option.
Yeah, I'm kind of a traditional route to agree with everything they say. In fact, I brought a prop, Maury Warshawski. His daughter is in Seattle, and she put me onto this book. This is the best book you can buy for financing, Shaking the Money Tree.
Yeah. The cover. Okay.
Oh yes,
This is
the third edition.
They just updated. What book is that?
That's the third edition.
That book.
Yeah, the newest edition. There's 3 other editions, but they're all good. This is more current with things that goes into more of the social media. So if you do get one, I would recommend the newest edition because it talks about social media like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. About budgeting, definitely make a budget, even if you're doing a low budget film. Put yourself in it. People look at this budget and they're wondering where you're at. If you're directing or the writer. Have a column for you. Even if you're not paying yourself, have a second column in kind. Give yourself a dollar amount, mark it in kind. That's basically you're working for free. And your trade. It's a trade. And all these people you're having in here, so you have a dollar amount that includes both an actual dollar amount and an in kind dollar amount.
We did that for Face of Fear. If you want to know, our production budget, not including festivals, was $2,000. That's where we film that on, with a Steadicam.
Yes, but if we count into in kind, we're probably talking about $8,000, maybe more.
Yeah. We just finished Ingenue, and our budget was just shy of $8,000, but we had close to 10 grand in kind.
That's right.
Your budgets, I think, also
you know, when raising money for film, the value of your film in the end, cash-wise, will determine how depending on where you want to go with it, will determine what you're going to get back in distribution. Because distributors will need to see your actuals, and then they'll determine what they want to pay you. So if you make a film for $10,000, they're going to give you a percent of that. Then if you make a film for $100,000, you're going to get a percent of that, and then it expands based on what you spent. There are other factors included in that, and anything I say is an absolute at this stage, but there are other factors included in the sale of your film, the distributions of your projects, but your budgets will reflect that. So the lower your budget, the lower your payout, and the higher your budget, the higher payout.
But also lower the risk, though, just in case that magic deal does not come.
Right.
You're not needing as much, yeah.
Right, but I live in the no risk, no reward, no risk, no right to complain category. I'm the guy that goes to those $8,000 in credit cards.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're going to festivals and they ask you what your budget is, you know, tell them what we paid $2,000, but we had a lot of volunteers, because these people, these actors, how many people have worked here for free on a film set? You know, these people deserve their credit. We'd love to pay them, but they're not getting paid a lot of time.
And even on the higher budgeted films, there's still an incredible amount of people that volunteer. As I said, as a television producer now, even the budgets that I get, which are pretty substantial compared to what I've ever used to using. And, you know, my senior producer tells me, oh, you know, it's for the PAs and all the PAs, you get them all for free, right? I'm thinking, well, Jesus, you got all this money, why would you hire these people, right? Well, no, because there's so many, and this is we're talking network executive people, like, oh, no, because there's like all these people who want to get into the film industry, and for the opportunity to volunteer on a big set like this, to be a PA, they'll do it. And you know what? You will.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're damn right you will. And so these people with the padded wallets take advantage of that situation. It sounds like a shitty, immoral thing, but we're talking about business here. You want business? Business isn't your friend. It's not nice. Business is a crook.
But you get in the door. It's those people
But
who
you get in the door.
And you get experience, which is
You
what
get
you
in the
train.
door, you get the experience. But just because you're on that set doesn't mean you're going to go somewhere. You gotta dog it like it's no one else's business. You have to make it so that when you seem like that's a whole different panel. But the point is, so I guess we're just a little off.
But it does, no, that brings up a good point though, in that, okay, as you go forward as filmmakers, learn how money flows.
Yeah.
Yes, it is an art, but it's also a business, so you need to know that. And then you need to decide where your ethical compass is. See, no, I'm serious.
Yeah,
I know I've flown up against the stream because I don't do that. I feel every worker deserves their wages. Now, I might not pay much for a PA, you know, it's whatever. And I certainly don't stint on the craft service, which is probably my most number one advice to you.
Most important, but
They get paid first before me, you know. People
need your crew.
And that's an interesting perspective, and that's the perspective that I had before. And I totally agree with that perspective. I'm not on that train, but I'm in a different route. But for me, it is a matter of, I remember working free on sets, and for me, it was definitely, there's credit. And there's definitely experience, and there's learning. And you know what? I don't think, and probably throwing tomatoes at me here, but I don't think anybody deserves to get paid until you earn your right to. Do you know what I mean? Like if you walk on set and say, well, I'm a PA, I know the paperwork, got cops for you, and drove the car, I deserve to get paid because I did physical labor.
Paying your dues.
A lot of what we do on the studio side is deal memos.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what the...
A lot of indie guys don't necessarily do this because you're controlling a very different scenario, but you can actually do a lot of this within the indie scenario based on the folks that you are actually bringing on. Where a deal memo, who here does not know what a deal memo is? Stick your hand in the air.
Yeah.
Okay. A deal memo. All right. Best example I can give you. Have you ever seen a movie that they're advertising or promoting, and there's a set of writers on it, and then a month later they're gone, and another set of writers are in there, and another month later they're gone, and another set of writers. And the general question that people ask me is like, are they like breaking contracts all the time? I say, no, they're doing deal memos. A deal memo is a contract based on a result. You have to produce a specified result. For an executive producer, you know, Sharky comes to me and says, hey Manny, we want to work on this. Is this something that you're going to do? And this is the budget that we're working with, and this is what we need to build. And I'll say, sure, no problem. But see, I'll have a period of time on my deal memo as an executive producer to build and develop that number. or within a guaranteed percent of that number by a period of time to trend. Otherwise, I have not executed my deal memo, I will no longer be part of the production when that time terminates.
Right, and
So
don't-
that you have the right to do that, and that's exactly what he's talking about.
Right,
You
don't
don't
get me
pay
wrong.
unless those things are done and executed. And sometimes it's based on percent.
Right, but don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, wah, ha, ha.
No, that's not a while, that's how it's done. That's absolutely how it's
But the
done.
disclaimer is you work for Canadian television, which is a different
Very
animal.
different. We make
Yeah.
sadder, shittier films than you, but the point is.
But the government.
Who in your rights? Who in your
It's
rights?
government funded somewhat.
Screenplays that, or are writing screenplays that, all right, so if you go the route of the Writers Guild of America, which isn't necessarily always independent, but if you go that route, you could actually go on their website and, literally print out contracts and documents for yourself so you can see what it is. And the standard contract is 2 by 2. 2% of a Greenland approved studio budget, 2% of perpetuity and royalties. And that's the standard. And that doesn't happen unless you get greenlit. So you might be approached by, hey,
Yeah.
we want you to write this. And unless you're Aaron Sorkin, you're not getting a cent. You're gonna write it.
Oh,
This is how
rewrites
much
are pretty
time.
expensive. They'll
Backing it up a second, back to the whole.
Yeah.
So-
Well, it's based on the concept of the budget and the finance.
It's not a matter of getting paid, there's other ways to get paid. There's monetary compensation, and then there's credential compensation, and there's networking compensation. There are
Yeah.
so many ways to get compensated from working on film production. Lower budgeted film productions that require you to work for free, or that require you to work for food.
It's a gateway.
There are things to do.
Or you
If
can
have
swap
faith-
labor.
If you swap labor, if you have faith in the crew that you're working with, you have faith in the idea that you're working on, and that there's a lot of opportunity to be taken advantage of, and that happens a lot, but if you have faith in the people that you're working with and stuff like that, it's like investing into a project. You're investing your time, your energy, and your effort, and you're hoping to get a remembrance of what you did. If that person skyrockets to a different level, you're hoping to get, I think we're completely off topic, but you're hoping to get.
No, we're not. That's actually, that is
But
our
it's part of
topic.
budget, right?
That's
So-
absolutely on top, because the point of that is, don't be afraid to use the specific tools that exist, even if it's from the studio side, and adapt it for your needs.
Absolutely.
Needs of the business on your independent side, to protect yourself financially, to maintain those budgets. Because you start issuing financing in one level, especially if you don't have a proper line producer that's literally, you're spending too much money, stop your own budget. Or, on the day-to-day, back in the day, it was, you have your 3 shots, you're filming, you're using film, and you're doing multiple shots. You spent too much film.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
You
fine.
spent too much film, you're over budget, move on, or we're gonna have to use research and post. Things like that are scenarios that protect you based on your budget from what you're paying now, and that's not a ha at all, it's industry standard.
Yeah.
And I, to a degree, the indie side sometimes is afraid of what I guess would be, the big business studio side, because they're like, that's not indie. No, it's not.
Well,
They
I-
have industry standards that can you can
That's right.
utilize.
I think one of the
Absolutely.
biggest mistakes of most films and that they get poorly made is people don't know, they know the creative side, they don't know the business side.
Well,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was gonna say, based on you reminded me from your book, so, something that I have it on my shelf, and I peruse through it whenever I need a little bit of like
Refresher.
reference or refresh, is The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And a lot of the indie guys are creative. You are all creative, and you have amazing talent for creative, but sometimes you don't have those specific tools for the business negotiation. I would recommend on the education side, that's a great book to get, because it's not just negotiating film project or distribution, it's negotiating with your crews, it's negotiating with the folks you need to work.